All right. Sorry for being a minute late. It's Wednesday for the rest of the world, but it's Tuesday in our world. So trying to pack a lot into a short period of time since we got off the field an hour ago. To reiterate what Steve said, so happy that it's finally game week as well, like we talked to our players about. You work all year for 12 guaranteed opportunities, and we get our first one Sunday as well. Could not be more excited about getting going on that, without a doubt. Obviously excited. A couple things, house cleaning before we get into Virginia Tech. Excited for Rasul. Awesome news that he is free. Huge props and thanks to our compliance office, Aaron Abbey, Angie Ludwig, and John Stevenson. They, along with everyone here at the university, worked really, really hard on this. Appreciate the NCAA and working with us on that one also. So it was a process. There's no question about it. But in the end, had the best resolution for him and what I think was the right thing to do, without a doubt. So really excited for him, and our team is also, and thanks to everyone involved on that one. Update on Travian Robertson, obviously really serious accident last week. Truthfully, he's very lucky to be alive as well. He will not be with us this weekend in Atlanta. He will be back soon. I've talked to him. I've seen him since the wreck, and I've talked to him as well, and he's eager to get back out here and will be as soon as possible. Everyone knows what this place means to him and how much it hurts him not to be here with us right now, but his health is the primary thing, and had some pretty serious stuff happen to him in that wreck. So I would ask for continued thoughts and prayers for he and his family, but he is going to be okay. It's nothing long term. It's just physically he's not able to be down on the sidelines at a game right now as well. So Jordan Dove, who works closely with our defensive line, is essentially the defensive line coach right now, working with the tackles. Obviously, Sterling Lucas is heavily involved, being that his position lines up next to the tackles, and then we've got a really talented defensive staff, and everybody's responsibilities need to increase in Travian's absence in the short term. This won't be a all-year thing by any stretch of the imagination, but just this week and until Travian gets back. And then we're fortunate that we've got a older group in that room. Nick Barrett's been here as long as I have in this program. Nick Barrett's been in this defensive system longer than Travian Robertson has, because he's been here since year one with us. So we've got older guys in that defensive line room. And they'll all do a great job and play their butts off this weekend for Travian until he gets back here with us. Also, want to congratulate all of our NFL guys. That's so freaking awesome that so many of those guys that were on last year's team are now on NFL rosters. And then I talked to every one of our guys that got put on waivers or released yesterday, and except for one of them, and everyone that I talked to last night or this morning, the team has told them that they want them back on the practice squad, and which is great news for those guys. They're all NFL football players, and really excited for them, and a great testament to them and then our program, just their development and what they were able to do here, and then have an opportunity to go be on an NFL roster. Really fired up and excited for them, and then obviously really fired up and excited for this upcoming weekend to be able to compete in the Affleck kickoff game that Gary Stoken over in Atlanta puts on with his team. Anything that they do is first class, whether it be the Peach Bowl or any sporting event that comes to Atlanta, the Peach Bowl Golf Challenge that myself and other head coaches play in the springtime, which is a first-class event. It's going to be awesome. Everything they do is first class, and this event will be as well. Really fired up for George Rogers. He'll be our honorary captain on Sunday as well. Georgia native, Heisman Trophy winner here at Carolina, so I know George is excited about that as well. I know there'll be a ton of fans from Carolina there. Can't wait to see all the garnet and black in the stands. We are doing a a pregame walk like we do here in Columbia for home games. So I'm sure we'll post on social media all the details of that, but would encourage our fans to come out and see our guys when we arrive at the stadium a couple hours before kickoff for that walk on Sunday. Obviously playing a great opponent in Virginia Tech. You old heads that have been around here for a little bit will remember that these two teams used to play every year. And my dad became the head coach at Virginia Tech in 1987, and they played in 87, they played in 88, they played in 89, they played in 90, they played in 91 as well. And then South Carolina went into the SEC, and Virginia Tech went into the old Big East Conference that was created back in the early 90s, and then they didn't play anymore. But thought then as a kid growing up that these were two teams that needed to play every year, and it's crazy that we haven't in so long, but it'll be exciting to play against a team that we have a history with as well, and a good football team. This is a team that, in my opinion, last season was much better than their record. If you go back and look at last season, they had 2 3-point losses and a 4-point loss. And I think everybody was watching the Miami game, which I think was one of our off weekends, when they had a really, really controversial finish to that game that easily could have been a win. Had a 3-touchdown lead against Syracuse, and they weren't able to hang on that one. So 2 7-point losses, I believe, a 4-point loss, and 2 3-point losses. And they're on the other side of those. They're a player or two away from being a 9-3 team, and this is a top 15 matchup because of the players they have coming back as well. They dealt with some injuries last season, very similar to what we were in 2023 with some of the injuries and close losses that we had. They got really good players on all 3 phases. They're very well coached. I don't think enough people are talking about Kyron Drones, the quarterback. He's a heck of a talent, and he can make all the throws. He reminds me a lot of Lenoir's in his ability to run the ball. He's a quarterback that's able to run the ball, but he's not shying away from contact. I mean, he has a play against Old Dominion last year where he breaks it off for 60, and he's trying to run over people, and defenders are just bouncing off of him. So he makes our offense go, and will be a big challenge for us on Sunday. And then, like I said, well coached, got a ton of respect for Brent Pry. I think the world of him. He was a graduate assistant coach when I was a player at Virginia Tech, and he gets Virginia Tech. And it's real and genuine with him, his love of Virginia Tech, his appreciation for my dad, the kind of person he is. And certainly he's doing a great job with that program, and somebody that I got a lot of respect for. And we're looking forward to competing on Sunday. Questions? Hail. Did you not see David?
I guess he was afraid to ask about the depth chart.
Go ahead.
I guess Dave was scared about the depth chart or asking about it. So I'll ask, will you release one? Will we get to see one, or are we going to have to piece it together on Sunday afternoon?
You'll piece it together. And again, I've got respect for y'all, and I understand you have a job to do, and it's not trying to be any kind of gamesmanship. I called Brent Pry last week, and I told Brent Pry that I was not going to release a depth chart this week because I didn't want him to release one, and then we don't release one, and he's like, what the heck? So I called him last week to tell him that I was not releasing a depth chart. It's not any kind of trying to keep secrets from Virginia Tech. To be totally honest, I'm just trying to avoid unnecessary overreactions, which is what a depth chart is when it comes out. I mean, we still got position battles going on out there on the practice field. And if I had released a depth chart, it was going to have a gazillion ands and ors on there, because that very much is the case at a lot of those positions. So again, I'm respectful of the job that you guys have, and I'm not trying to make things more difficult on you guys, but that's what I was just trying to avoid as I looked at what's best for our team right now. It was not putting anything out on paper. I'm not sure what we'll do on Sunday leading up to the game. I can tell you I think we do it with about 28 minutes left on the clock in pregame warmups. The first offense will come together and run plays against the first defense, so that'll be a great look at it. That gives you a 28-minute head start before kickoff. And then after that, we go down and we kick an extra point, so you'll see our starting snapper, holder, kicker at that point. And then we turn around and we punt, so you'll see the starting snapper, punter, and we punt to the starting punt returner, so you'll be able to knock that off before kickoff as well. And I'm not trying to be a smart, that's truly what's going to happen as well if we don't put anything out before then. But Steve and I will talk about it. But Dabo and Kirby didn't put a depth chart out before this game last year. Everybody survived, the players, the coaches, the teams, the fans, the media, and I'm sure this year will be no different with us as well.
Shane, anybody updated injury-wise or that might miss the game for a non-injury reason?
No, not at this point. Pretty healthy, nothing new injury-wise other than what we talked about last week, David, and then a couple guys that are coming back just from some soft tissue injuries, hamstrings, groins, things like that I don't think will keep them from playing on Sunday, but may limit how much they do play. But no, we're in pretty good shape as of today compared to last week.
This first game of the season for every team around the country, there's nerves. It's the first game of the season. You prepare, practice the best you can, and then you just got to play. What's the tone that you want your team and your players to set in this first week specifically?
Yeah, I think just we said it a lot last year, and it's the same thing now, just be who we are. And I mean that like going into the game and the way that we play. Like don't all of a sudden start acting different now because it's game week. Players and coaches. Be who we are, and in game ones, because it is the first time doing it for real, there's going to be, I don't want to say kinks, but there's things that happen that you got to work out, during the game because it is game one, and just be a team that, plays with great poise throughout the game, no matter what's happening, good or bad. You just continue to play with poise and confidence, and then be the team that we want to be just in our style of play and how we execute and the effort, physicality that we want to play with.
With Jordan Dove taking over as defensive line coach, can you explain what the responsibilities of a position coach are in the course of a game and what Jordan will be asked to do?
Yeah. It's obviously most of the work is done during the week from a preparation standpoint in the meetings as you're putting together the game plan for what we want to do, the position meetings that we have. So most days for us is, we have today, for example, we had a team meeting at 8 a.m. and then we had a 20-minute special teams meeting, and then we have about an hour of offense-defense meetings before we went on the field. So when we have those offense-defense meetings, sometimes it's the whole offense together, sometimes it's the whole defense together for part of it, but most of the time you're in your own position rooms. So when we're in those own position rooms, Jordan Dove is in there like he is every day with the defensive tackles, and he's talking about our game plan and Virginia Tech and whatnot. And then during the game, most of the work is done at that point. Jordan typically is in the press box for us. He does a great job of watching what's happening and being able to convey to Travian and the rest of the defensive coaches kind of what's happening with the offensive line and defensive line during the series. And then really the biggest responsibility is just is the substitutions, which that's something that we talk about as a staff the morning of the game. We'll meet on Sunday morning, and I'll talk to each coach about how are you planning to play the players. And in that meeting, Jordan will talk about, here's who we're starting, and here's kind of what the rotation is going to be, and here's when so-and-so is going in. And then during the game, Clayton's obviously making the calls. There's certain calls where, Clayton may tell Sterling or Travian that he wants some sort of, twist or movement up front with the defensive line, and then he'll let them call it. But those are all things that those guys have talked about during the week, if that makes sense.
Hey, Shane, with Rasul getting cleared, I'm curious, you mentioned the compliance staff earlier. What is that process like for you of working with them through the whole thing? Is it kind of like back and forth communication every day, or can you kind of just take us through it a little bit?
Yeah, it's not much because there's really only so much that I can do. And I knew that our compliance people were working really, really hard. I knew the NCAA had a lot on their plate on top of Sewell's eligibility case as well, and that there were a lot of moving parts. So for me, it was when needed, Aaron or Angie or whoever would reach out to us or reach out to me and say, maybe the NCAA needs this, or do you have an answer for this and whatnot. But very little, I'll be honest. It was just kind of supporting them with whatever they needed and trying to be patient. And certainly you want an answer, and I want to call them every day and say, what have you heard? What have you heard? I didn't that often. But really, it's just being able to, support in any way. And they did most of the legwork. And when I say that, it's primarily the statements that we needed to provide, the data that we needed, the records that we needed from other schools and things like that. So, credit Sewell and the way he handled this situation, but then our administration and the way they worked with Sewell and the NCAA to get stuff done.
You mentioned Kyron Drones in your opening statement. That's one thing that you can go back and watch film on because he's been there for a few years. But a lot of position groups on this team are really heavily transfer portal laden. What's kind of the challenge of preparing for them in terms of how they're going to be used, and how have you guys kind of tackled that?
Yeah, it's that's what's hard about game one. I mean, I have like my own process during the week where if you ask me on a normal week, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at whatever time, 9 a.m., 9:40, 10:20, 11:30, 2 p.m., I can tell you exactly what I'm doing between now and the Clemson game just because it's such a routine every day during the week. But game ones, you get a little bit off because when you're trying to get a feel, unfortunately it's game one, we've had the summertime to do this, but when you're trying to get a feel for their personnel, you're not just watching Virginia Tech. So I spent most of my time on Monday morning watching Texas State because that's where their best pass rusher just transferred from, and watching a cut-up of him, or watching Hawaii because one of their defensive backs just transferred from Hawaii, or watching Rice because their starting safety just transferred from Rice. Offensively, watching a whole lot of West Virginia because they've had players that have transferred in from West Virginia. Watching Wake Forest because one of their top receivers just came from Wake Forest. Watching Tennessee because they got a receiver that's going to probably start for them that came from Tennessee. But then they've also changed numbers. So it's he wears whatever number he wore at the previous school, he's going to be this number. So you're trying to find him on the video. Not to mention you got guys at Virginia Tech. 26 for them is now wearing 0 this year. So it's a lot. And I laugh, but I mean it's serious. It's a lot of just watching other people and trying to get a feel for their personnel, trying to project how they're going to use them within their system. And then you also add the challenge of 2 new coordinators, offensively and defensively, that weren't in college football last year. So we're, it's a lot. You got to be careful that you're not chasing and trying to prepare for everything and then you're not good at anything. That's a big challenge in the first game for sure. So we got to make sure that, we have a good feel for their personnel, but it's always about us though. And I don't mean that any disrespect to Virginia Tech. It's always about us, like what we're doing schematically, how we play and whatnot. But you also, like any opponent, you want to have a good feel for that opponent, their personnel and their schemes.
Doty mentioned earlier how Nick Harbor reminds him a lot of Xavier Legette in terms of his mindset currently. Compared to this time last year, have you seen him grow the most in just how he carries himself?
I think he's having fun for sure. Not that he wasn't last year, but last year when he started practice, it was the first time he had practiced in a year because he was doing track and he's still trying to learn everything. He was trying to develop that relationship with Mike Furry, a new receivers coach. So I think he's much more at ease now in a lot of ways because he went through spring practice and he went through the summer. So I see him having fun. And then really, I just say the fundamentals of the position, of running routes, how to get open, how to block, catching the ball, running after the catch. He's just so much farther along. Still has a ways to go, but he's so much farther along from last year at this time to now just because he's spent more time at football.
Hey, Shane, when Luke was in here, he talked a little bit about his relationship with Lenores and how he tries to help him out. How valuable is that to you as a coach to have a kid who's been around here for so long just to be able to share his knowledge and experiences?
Yeah, huge. Anytime you have a older team, a veteran team, it helps. We had that last year, Rick, with so many guys. This year, we don't have as many older guys, and I was just meeting with some of the players on our team, and we were talking about the 2021 season, and Luke was here, and Nick Barrett was here, and Bradley Dunn was here, but there weren't a lot of other guys that are leaders, if you will, on our team that were here then. So to be able to say that, to have a guy like Luke and some of those older guys that they've seen everything, and no matter what happens on Sunday or at any point this season, it's not going to be anything that they probably haven't already experienced as a player here, good and bad, on the field. But especially with Lenoris, that he has a guy like Luke that can talk to him and help him. Luke, one, being a talented player, but just a great person, great leader. They sit next to each other in those quarterback meetings, and there's communication going on back and forth. And I just think he's a great resource for Lenoris in the meetings, on the field, between series. And, Luke has a really valuable role on this team.
It seems like when waiting on a decision for someone like Rasul Faison, it can be draining mentally to a certain extent. So describe the flip side. When you get that call, you get that email, he's cleared. What does that do for the team, the room, and how much more dynamic is that group with him back in the fold?
Yeah, it was awesome. You're optimistic, but until you hear, you don't know. And this week it was getting to be crunch time, obviously, because it's game week and you need an answer one way or another because you're getting ready for a game literally during that week. I was really proud of Sewell, how he handled this whole situation, and it never, if it affected him, he never showed it. He was the same guy each and every day and just went out there and worked and got better. That was a awesome phone call to make. Abby called me and told me that we got word that he was cleared and that I could let Sewell know. And it was, what day was that, Monday? And he was at home already in the afternoon, so I FaceTimed him and told him, and that was a pretty cool moment that I won't forget, just seeing the joy in his face, and all he kept saying was just thank you, thank you, thank you, because he's so appreciative for the opportunity. He came and saw me yesterday just to thank me again as well, which is awesome. So that was a really special moment and a lot of emotions. And then certainly it makes a room that was already good, in my opinion, even better. And I told you guys, I believe last week that, or I know I've said it publicly, that whether Sewell was eligible or not, we were going to play multiple running backs. And now that he's eligible, he's going to play. And then there'll be other guys in that room that will also play. So it makes a room that I was really excited about already. Makes that room even better and gets me even more excited to just add to the depth and the personnel in that running back room.
Last week, Mike Shula said that more receivers, particularly freshmen, might be able to get into the game than he would have initially expected. Do you agree with that assessment, and do you have any estimate of how many of those freshmen might see the field Sunday?
Indirect depth chart question right there. I'll see what you did there. Yes, I would agree with what Mike said on that one. When we signed those receivers, what did we sign? 7, I think. When we signed those freshman receivers, we signed them with the intention of getting them ready to play early. And they've come in, going through spring practice was huge for them. Everybody went through the spring except Donovan Murph, but he was basically out there every day during spring practice. And now that we've gone through the preseason, they've just continued to get better. They still have a ways to go, but they're dynamic players that are really going to help us. We've got a really good receiver room already with some of those other older receivers. But, yeah, absolutely. I think you'll see a small group of them that are going to play a lot on Sunday. And I would say that there's a chance that you see all of them play a little bit on Sunday.
I know we'll learn on Sunday, like you said at the beginning, who the specialists are, but kind of just going off that, where are you at right now with special teams? Do you feel like you have an answer in your mind as to like the questions you had about that group coming in with who you want to see start?
I'm a lot closer than what I was on August 1st when we started practice. Just to be completely honest, I wish we had kicked a little better today and Monday, Sunday, whatever day it was. Sunday in the football world, Monday in the real world. Not that we were bad, but, being a perfectionist, you want to hit everything and confident in those guys as we get into Sunday without a doubt. But we've come a long way. They've all improved. I like where we are on special teams, not just punters, kickers, snappers, but coverage units, return units, all that. It's a big point of emphasis for us, and we need to be really good at it on Sunday. And we've got quality, talented guys, don't get me wrong, more than one at each position when I talk about the punter and the kicker and the kickoff person as well. Just want to see more and more consistency all the time from those guys, and confident that we will.
I know uniforms this time of year are always very low on the list of priorities for you, but what have you heard from players, maybe recruits, even with the Nike news from last week?
A lot of excitement. Certainly grateful for our partnership with Under Armour for so many years. And they've been a great partner and a great friend to Carolina Athletics, and will continue to be over the next year until that contract runs out. But the response from our team and the response from recruits has been really, really, really positive as well. You know, it's something that has come up with some recruits that we're recruiting right now. Hale, like during the recruiting process, that was one of the questions in my office with some recruits on official visits, was what the apparel contract looks like going forward. And to have it resolved, appreciate Nike. I mean, they wanted us. Appreciate Jeremiah, Jeff Crane, and the rest of our administration for their communication and getting this done without a doubt. So I think it's a great day for South Carolina, and most of the all the players I know and the recruits that I know feel the same way.
Well, I guess I'll try my hand at a direct depth chart question. How many, if you could tell us, starting positions are still up for grabs?
Well, competition is a core value of our program, and we say we compete every day, so all of them, okay? I'd be a hypocrite if they weren't. That's just the case. Now, is it going to be hard for somebody to beat out Lenora Sellers as the quarterback? Yeah, probably so, but we're competing each and every day in practice. All right, Carolina calls on Thursday night, Backstreet. Saw Jack there last week, so expect more attendance this week from everyone in here as well. See you.